Hey, Chicago Bears fans, President and CEO Kevin Warren says you owe him money. We'll explain coming up. In the NBA, the Chicago Bulls got back at it last night at MSG. They went down hard to the New York Knicks, losing by 2 in overtime. In college basketball, Illinois got served an educational lesson by the University of Wisconsin, while DePaul, well, they got served big time by St. John's in the second half at Wintrust. Sorry, LaKeena. The NFL's top 100 free agent list is out, and we'll break it down from a Bears perspective. ESPN and MLB, they're about to call it quits and head for divorce court. That and the return of our girl, Miss Christine the Queen Manica, and a whole lot more on the hashtag Friday Funk edition of Second City Sports, which starts right now. Interesting change with the mellow / steppers music. Interesting change. Welcome to the Friday Funk edition of Second City Sports. We're live in the live color and locked and loaded right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Miss LaKeena McGee, which is she. I am Sidney Brown. You know that's me. You can follow yours surely on Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
No, I'm not in the back cave. You can find LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, executives and the IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give Ward Mia a follow at WARR Mia on all social media platforms. So Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We're unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Again, we'll get them up on the screen for you. But you decide to troll and/or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given LaKeena full powers to give you dumbos to be able to be a boot.
Toodles.
But before we get, you know our motto by now. Shout out to the replay game watching us on the replay. And shout out to those of you that are watching us live on our Facebook and YouTube pages. As we always say, never ever forget our motto. And you know we will provide.
And we'll provide you with some of the best here on Second City Sports, as got a lot of sports media news to talk about today with our girl Christine Manica from KXRB in South Dakota as she makes her return here to the show. Like I said, we've got like sports media news and a whole bunch of other stuff. We got baseball news. Sis got his annual list of both MLB and NFL free agency. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Also, Bulls was a tough one last night in MSG to the Knicks in their first game back from the All-Star break. And little Four Nations action as Connor McDavid leads Canada with a golden overtime win in the thriller over the U.S. And so much more. But first, Sid, this news came out on Wednesday, and Kevin Warren had this long, word verbiage. I stopped reading it after a while. But really the main thing here is that the Bears are raising ticket prices by 10%. Yes, you guys heard that right, folks. And it's just like, okay, I've listened to both our sports radio stations here in Chicago. I think both stations actually did a good job of covering this. And it's sort of interesting, Sid, that I'm a capitalist. Look, I'm all for, getting your bag and whatnot, but this seems a little bit much, especially since the Bears only won 5 games this past season. And look, okay, if they had made the playoffs, okay, I get it, but you're basically saying that, hey, look, we gotta pay new coach Ben Johnson's contract somehow, and now you're kind of like, okay, and then you see I've heard some of some of the callers from both stations sort of giving their 2 cents, and some were reasonable, some were not so much. But so, what did you think of all this? I know you always try to go to at least one Bears game a year. What do you think of all this?
I'm not surprised at all. And here's the thing: the Bears are trying to get a new stadium right now, which they have put up some money for. At as the deal goes right now, obviously nothing's official. They keep telling us that shovels are going to be in the ground by the end of the year. We'll see about that. Number two, as you mentioned, they just got a new head coach, and of course you drafted Caleb Williams before the start of last season, so things were trending in the right direction. And here's the thing, LaKeena, with everything, I'm not trying to turn this to WLS or WVON. Shout out Titus Williams, friend of the show, by the way. But
Hmm.
we know everything is going on with inflation, with groceries, houses, cars, and everything else that we need uh, to survive in our lives. But sports is not far behind. I know the old saying goes that sports imitates life, and to a large extent that is true. So for the Bears to raise their ticket prices, I'm actually in for it only because you know this as well as I do, LaKeena. Remember that old hip hop song in 1997? Remember that group called the Locks, which Pit Diddy Lady screwed over?
Hmm.
Remember
Hmm.
Jadakiss, the late
Yes.
DMX, Lil
Yes.
Kim sung a hook called
Yep.
now I'm sure it's the ghost of P. Diddy trying to wreck my brain right now. Money, power, respect is the key to
Hmm.
life. You'll see the
Hmm.
light, it's the key to life. What I mean by that is Bears season tickets are a calling card here in Chicago sports
Yep.
wide.
Yep.
Next, after that, it's the Cubs, then the Bulls, then the White Sox and Blackhawks fighting for our last place. Now, we know some people in our business, like I'm sure you know some people personally too that now has season tickets or has had best Bears season tickets in the past. You know, there's increases, goes up every year. Now, the Bears are banking on you, the current season ticket holder, not to lose your season because you know, one, that the new stadium is coming within the next 10-year time frame, probably shorter, but let's call it a 10-year time frame. They know that the new stadium is coming. You want to be there to pay quote unquote cheaper prices than your average ticket that you can buy off of StubHub.
Hmm.
Number two, if you lose your tickets, you're not going to get them back because there's always, and it still is right now, a waiting list for somebody else to get those seats. A Chicago Bears season ticket is a status symbol as far as fandom goes in this town.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Social Chicago. LaKeena McGee, Sidney Brown with you as we talk Bears ticket prices on the rise here. And look, I guess if you at least try to read Kevin Warren, T President Kevin Warren's long statement. I didn't, but it seems like they're hoping that okay, all this will be worth raising the ticket prices. Okay, great. So all right, and if the Bears don't do well next year, if because they got a very tough schedule coming up, people look. I think there are going to be folks out there that are going to pay because look, some are Bears fans, some are
Mhm.
da da da, and they're going to be willing to pay that extra 10%. Now, again, nowadays, again, like you said, with everything going up and pricing and such. It's going to be interesting to see like how Bears fans responds to this because yeah, there are going to be some that are going to they are going to be bite the bullet and pay. But there are gonna be some people that say, "Hey, look, I gotta, tighten up the purse strings and spend something I
Mhm.
need." So it's gonna be interesting to see like how all this sort of plays out. I know 10%. I guess if you want to use like numbers and such, I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see kind of how all this kind of plays out because you got PSLs and all that, and look, I mean, I know the Chiefs they've raised ticket prices, but yet they've won. I'm sure the Eagles are gonna probably raise their ticket price a little bit too. They just won their second
Mhm.
Super Bowl. So, and I'm sure Baltimore, does a little bit as well. So yeah, if it's there, like okay, I get it. But the fact that this team only won 5 games is just like, wait, what are you doing? But like you said, I mean, the stadium and all that stuff. That's kind of why. But it is what it is.
And here's the thing: what the Bears are doing. If you really read into that statement and to the model of what they're doing, they're no different than any other pro teams in your other three major pro sports. Where we'll take the Bears as an example. When Green Bay comes to town, we all know Packers fans. Some of them, many of them, try to fill up their stadium where the Bears are doing good and not. So you're going to get money that way. When the Bears are playing, let's just say the Las Vegas Raiders, even though they're in the AFC, tick people are still going to go, but it's going to be at a regular price. When they play the division rivals like Detroit, Green Bay, Minnesota, those tickets are going to be more because they're the a primary opponent. And with the White Sox, I'm a season ticket holder. This is year 4 for me now. I know you're happy for me, but when they play the Cubs, the ticket prices are higher. When it's opening day, even though it's not that high this year, it usually is high for opening day, and it's high when they play the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Chicago Cubs that interly play. The ticket prices are higher, so the Bears are no different from any other pro sports team in any of the other 3 major leagues. So that's one noteworthy right there. Number 2, as I said before, you have some fans that are in it because they love the Bears, and it's a status symbol. Like I said, let's not forget too, people. You have a group of fans that purchase these season tickets. They don't even attend the games. They use it as a resale market, which I think is smart, by the way, because and I know, and they know too, that you're looking for last minute tickets for a Bears Packers game or Bears Vikings game. Heaven forbid that one of those games are on a Sunday night or a Monday night. You're gonna make some money. So that's another factor to keep in mind too. The resale market is high, and all these leagues are in it on it too. If you can't get it off the Ticketmaster or whoever website they say you can go to, the secondary markets is where the money's at, and all these leagues have recognized this. So the secondary market with these ticket prices going up, they're gonna make more money than people than regular folks trying to get the tickets from the regular avenue. These regular secondary markets like StubHub, Vivid Seats, and all those companies, trust me, they're gonna make more money off of this. So they're more happy than the organizations that announce these price hikes. I promise you that.
Oh yeah, it's all about like capital gain. So yeah, you're
Mm-hmm.
probably right on the money when it comes as far as this is concerned. So yeah, this is going to be very interesting. We'll ask our girl Christine Mann from KXRB about this and see how she feels about this. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if her dad goes to any of the Bears games, but we'll see how she feels about
Mm-hmm.
that. Now,
Oh,
uh,
go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Oh yeah, just real quick. I was fortunate enough to go to 2 Bears games last season. One was the lone preseason game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Of course, preseason games are cheaper because all the starters don't play. It just happened to be that technically that 3rd preseason game for the Bears. They had the extra one last year because of the Hall of Fame game, which none of the
Hmm.
starters played. But I was able to go to that one, and after the $25 fee from StubHub, it was around $66. So I got my money's worth, and the starters played at half. Now, the regular season game that I went to, it was against Carolina last year. That was the day before my birthday. And we had Julie Swiker Gannon on the next day, and we talked about. And I had to pay. I paid the face value was $150, but after the $60 fee from StubHub, it was $210. Now, uh, as I said during that next day after when we had Julie Swiker Gannon on, if you're taking a family of 4 to an NFL game, if you can afford it, bless your heart. Me as being a single man, it was just hard enough for me just to gather up money to go there. Thank goodness I had a little enough to go. But if you're trying to take a family of 4, it could get kind of crazy. If you can afford enough to do that, be my guest. Bless your heart. But I know there's this age old argument that the NFL is great on TV, especially in 4K HD, in which it is. But with us as sports fans, LaKeena, and maybe we could continue this on the other side. You could think about this. What was the last sporting event that you went to? How much did you pay for it, and did you get what you want out of it? Because all these organizations are selling to you, besides the entertainment aspect of it, is hope that your team wins. I
That's
want to
all
ask
that.
you a question about that. Think about it over the break.
I can answer for you right now because I've heard
Okay.
others say the same thing because I think this is sort of like trying to be preemptive about it, but they're basically selling hope that look, this team will actually be good if they make some moves in the off season. They get like guys like Trey Smith, from the Chiefs, and those type of and stuff like that. I mean, it's gonna be interesting, how all this kind of shakes out. So I'm wondering, like okay, they're going by hope, but you're hoping that they're hoping that the team does
Hmm.
well and they can justify the ticket hike. But if they stink, if in a couple years they don't make any big moves or they don't make that big jump, there's going to be a lot of folks here in Chicago, ticket holders are not going to be very happy. So they're hoping that this will justify it, but we'll see.
Yeah, what was the last sporting event that you attended, and how much was the ticket in your mind? Did you feel like you got your money's worth?
I went to a Bulls game right before the pandemic, so I think they played Minnesota, and they won that game, and I think I only ended up paying because it was like a group thing. It was like myself, my mom, and a couple of family friends, and
Okay.
so we only spent about maybe $50. It was at night, so we didn't eat anything for the concessions. I know. Our the friends, my mom's friend's son, he got something that didn't end up being that much. So yeah, I think it's all about. But again, that was a different time.
Okay.
So you're talking about now with everything else. Yeah, that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, and it's just like I said, just to wrap up here, because I know we got a break for the bottom of the hour. But for me, being a season ticket holder for the White Sox, do I get a bang for my buck? Yes, I do. We get opportunities to walk on the field. I did it a couple of times last year, and of course, as I mentioned on the show before, you get the out-of-market games for free with a free MLB.TV subscription. And this year, they added you can get, I think, close. I forget the percentage. I'll let you know on our next episode. But we get a certain percentage off of concessions. And like I said before, Comiskey Park. Yes, I'm calling it Comiskey, not the corporate name. Comiskey Park has the best food, but you mentioned about concessions, and it's happening at Wrigley Field too. Concessions has gone up more too. You notice these restaurants are making more money because people are saying, well, I'm not going to eat that high price. I'm not going to pay $14 for a beer. I'm not going to pay $15 for a hamburger. I can go somewhere else I can get it for cheaper and enjoy an experience at a bar or a restaurant. So, like you said, I'm a capitalist too, but some things that have priced themselves out of a market for the common man.
We'll definitely talk about this Orgo Christine Mather coming up at 1, well after 1, maybe close to 1:30. We'll see when she comes on. I told her she can come on early if she can. So we're definitely gonna get back to this, but we're gonna take a really quick break. Of course, we're gonna talk some basketball, both NBA and college. Bulls was a tough one, coming back from the All-Star break against the Knicks last night. And are the Nuggets, here they come. We'll see. Also college hoops, Illinois. Well, let's just say they got a master class in performance against Wisconsin. Yeah, that was pretty. Yeah, that was a pretty bad on Wednesday. But yeah, and so much more. We got a lot of great matches coming up this weekend as well. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown, Second City Sports. Sports of Chicago. We go to the hardwood right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports and the hashtag Friday Fun Edition. You're locked and loaded and live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's LaKeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow McGee on the Twitter, X, and IG.
In this segment, we'll dive into some Bulls, NBA, and college basketball talk. For this segment, if you have any questions or comments regarding that subject, you can hop on Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
Off to the pro side first of the hoops, as the Bulls lose a tough one in overtime to the Knicks 113-111 last night. Josh Giddey had 27 points and 16 boards, a double-double for him. The Vooch had 21 points and 9 boards. Just a kind of a struggle from the rest of the thing here. The Knicks had all 5 stars in double figures. Cat had 32 points and 18 boards. Jalen Brunson added 22 points and 12 assists. And it was Mikal Bridges' block of Kobe White with a few seconds left of regulation that forced overtime. But the Knicks unfortunately made some big shots late with Cat and Brunson. So unfortunately, the Bulls were a tough one. But I guess we're in kind of a tankathon mode. So I guess we're in the fun bad part, right, Sid, of the season.
Yeah, fun bad, ugly bad, however you want to look at it. And that's where the Bulls are right now. And what's frustrating is that the Bulls had a chance to win that game last night. I like the play they had to Vooch to force the game into overtime with him having that layup with that mismatch. But like you said, Mikal Bridges came up big in overtime to deny the Bulls a chance to force double overtime. I don't know what the hell that play was about at the end of overtime for Chicago as they tried to tie it. But the Bulls shot decent from the field, 39% from overall, 39% from 3. But they, in my opinion, they couldn't get to the free throw line enough. Only 10 to 12 from the free throw line, only 12 trips to the free throw line. That's definitely not going to get it done. And also, too, even though they were -8 at points in the paint, you still got to take care of that basketball. Yes, they had 24 assists, but 15 turnovers. That's just not going to get it done. The Knicks are a better team. We know that. They did the little things down the stretch, like all Tom Thibodeau teams do. They did the little things down the stretch. They made a couple more bigger plays than the Chicago Bulls did. And LaKeena, we talked about the talent now, lack of talent on this Bulls team. We had to watch this for the rest of the year. I wouldn't be surprised if this Bulls team ended up in the play-in, but they still have another injury bug on their hands as Patrick Williams is going to be reevaluated in a few weeks with that knee injury. So for his sake, even though he signed that contract in all season, it's been a shame that he can't stay healthy. I know his play has been in question ever since he's been here, but in trying to find a role for him. But injuries is another bugaboo on his resume as well, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it doesn't get any easier for the Bulls as they'll face the Suns tomorrow in an early late afternoon matinee at the UC. We'll talk about that in a second. Now let's talk about some good basketball that happened last night. The Nuggets have won 9 in a row. They beat the Hornets by 14. Jamal Murray had 34 points. And it's interesting because I think no one's really talking about the Nuggets. They're starting to kind of finally find their rhythm and kind of get it going. But, look, again, those are people who are saying that, well, see, the Nuggets are to show you why they won a couple years ago. But at the same time, though, I kind of feel like they're might be peaking a little bit too soon. So if you're the Nuggets, you want to try to avoid injuries these last 34 games left in the season and see if, keeping Jokic healthy, keeping Murray healthy and the rest of that group and see if we can try to do some damage in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's the same thing I said on our show during our Power Hour last Friday around this time. I'm watching the Denver Nuggets. You mentioned they struggled with injuries early in the year with AG, Aaron Gordon, and Jamal Murray. Their bench is still an issue for me. I know Christian Brown is back in his role as the sixth man coming out of the bench along with Russell Westbrook. But I think the key to me for Denver's success in the playoffs will be Jamal Murray, because remember he struggled last year against Minnesota after having a heroic series against the Lakers in that first round. Michael Porter Jr. is the one I'm watching because he was the subject of trade talks here and there in the last couple weeks. Obviously, he did not get moved, but don't forget he did not have a great playoff series last year against Minnesota either. So I'm leaning on watching the lean on those two guys. Are those two guys? I'm talking about Murray and Michael Porter Jr. Those two guys, if they play well, Denver will have a shot of getting back to the finals. If both of them do not play well, you can say goodbye to them, and perhaps you will see some major changes with that roster this summer. But we still have a long way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see what happens if they can keep it up. We'll talk about the Nuggets now. The Lakers went 1-1. Of course, they lose to the Hornets in that makeup game they had to play on Wednesday, but they did come back and beat Portland. LeBron James had 40 points. Unfortunately, Luka is going to be sitting out, so he did not play last night, I should say, for the Lakers. So. But again, I know some people want to say, well, LeBron missed a 3-pointer against the Hornets, but you can kind of tell that. Look, you can tell the Lakers were trying to drag it along in that game on Wednesday. They actually looked better this time. Austin Reeves had 32 points, the season high for him. But they're going to need some help, especially if Luka's going to be kind of in and out of the lineup. So guys like Dorian Finney-Smith or Roy Hachimura, like those guys, Jackson Hayes, those guys are going to have to step up and help out LeBron. Because remember, LeBron's 40 now, folks. He can't do it all by himself, guys. So somebody's going to have to step up, especially if Luka's going to be in and out of the lineup, like I said.
Yeah, it depends on how the Lakers end up at the end of the season. These two areas that hopefully GM Rob Pelinka will be looking for during this offseason: a rebounder and a point guard, because the Lakers have neither of those right now, as you mentioned, LaKeena. Other guys that you mentioned with Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura, a.k.a. the Japanese Jordan, according to Fred Rogan, by the way. Those guys had to step up and perhaps do some things that's out of their comfort zone. And that's what the Lakers have with their roster right now. So other guys have to do and chip in a little bit more in areas that they normally don't have the capability of doing. So, do I still believe the Lakers are a playoff team? Yes, but it depends on the matchup. I think they can win a round or two, but like you said, Luka's still trying to get in shape and find his footing right now to see what his role is on the team. LeBron is just his job is to be the facilitator. Like you said, he's 40 years old. He's too old to be carrying around a young team to him, and he doesn't have the capacity to do that now at his elder age.
No, exactly. So, still, I know he's 40, but look, he has a lot of wear and tear. He's been playing in the league since he was a teenager. So, luckily he hasn't been able to avoid serious injuries. But yeah, he's not going to be able to do it all by himself. So yeah, those guys got to step up for him with Luka being in and out. San Antonio beat the Suns. Milwaukee came back and beat the Clippers. Giannis had 23 points. But the big story here is that Bobby Portis has been suspended 25 games for I guess from what his agent said, he took like the wrong muscle relaxer, and I guess it came the one that he did test positive for is actually banned. So I guess it was like someone forgot to spell, I guess. So now he's going to be gone for the rest of the season. That they were able to come back against the Clippers and do that, but that's a big loss for the Bucks.
Yeah, we talked about the Bucks making a big trade acquisition at the trade deadline to get Kyle Kuzma in exchange for Chris Middleton. I thought that was a nice move. Bobby Portis is the heart and soul of their team, especially him bringing that energy off the bench. And now they're going to miss that. And we talked about the health of Giannis and Damian Lillard. Now it's going to be more important than ever. They're going to have to pick up their play too as well. So Milwaukee, I think they still a playoff team, but missing Bobby Portis is going to be huge because he's their Draymond Green. He's the emotional leader, the energy guy that brings the tempo up a notch for that team. So he's definitely going to be missed.
All right, Cleveland beat Brooklyn. Orlando pulled away from Atlanta. Boston, no trouble with Philadelphia, and the Pacers beat the Grizzlies behind Tyrese Halliburton's 22 points. So at least right now, I guess there's a first games coming back for the league. So we'll be interested to see. There's gonna be a lot of movements some of these next couple weeks at least.
Yeah, and well wishes to Victor Wembanyama, the second-year star of the San Antonio Spurs. shoulder injury is going to keep him out for the rest of the year. It's really a shame too. I know that the Spurs, they were in it to mathematically to but participate in the playing tournament. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen now. So I know it's Chris Paul and De'Aaron Fox and everybody else. They have a couple of young guys in Vassell and Stephon Castle, who you saw in the slam dunk contest last weekend in San Francisco. But it's really a shame for Victor Wembanyama. I know he's going to be the face of the league, but it's just a real shame for him because he was really starting to come on in his second year.
What's scary is the fact that this was kind of like an infection that came through his shoulder, and I guess he was getting fatigued, or he was very fatigued at the All-Star break. So I know people were wondering, oh, maybe it was just a flu or something like that. But it turned out I guess they did some tests, and it turned out it was his shoulder, so he's going to be gone for the rest of the season. So hopefully, they caught it early, clean it up, and hopefully he can be back next season. So that's going to be a big loss for San Antonio. So we'll see what happens there. Going to this weekend's games, a good one here tonight as part of ESPN's Friday night doubleheader. You got the Knicks and the Cavs. Could this be a preview coming up in the playoffs? We'll see. So, that should be a fun one over there in Cleveland. Memphis and Orlando, Milwaukee and the Wizards, the Heat and Toronto, Detroit and San Antonio. Without Wemby, that'll be interesting to see what happens there. New Orleans and Dallas at 7:30. The battle in the West here down in Texas and Houston. That's second in the ESPN Friday doubleheader. You got Minnesota and Houston, OKC and Utah, and you got Golden State and Sacramento coming up at 9.
All right, tomorrow, Saturday, your schedule looks like this. It leads off with the Suns traveling to Chicago to take on the Bulls at the UC. That's at 4:00 Central Standard Time. Brooklyn will face Philadelphia. The Saturday night game of the week on ABC will feature the Los Angeles Lakers. Hopefully, Luka will be back for that one. They'll face off against the Denver Nuggets in another possible playoff preview. The Rockets will face the Jazz, and the Hornets will continue their West Coast road trip. They'll face the Portland Trail Blazers. And that's their schedule for Saturday.
And keeping up with the theme here for possible playoff matchups on ABC as part of their Sunday afternoon doubleheader. You got the Knicks and the Celtics. That should be a fun one at noon on ABC. The second game of the ABC Sunday doubleheader, you got Dallas and Golden State. That should be interesting. The Clippers continue their East Coast trip against Indiana. Detroit and Atlanta, Washington, Orlando. Phoenix continues their East Coast trip against Toronto. Miami and Milwaukee at 5. San Antonio, New Orleans, and the ESPN Sunday night doubleheader. You got Memphis and Cleveland, and a possible matchup in the playoffs out west. You got OKC and Minnesota at 8:30 on ESPN. That is your schedule for this weekend in the NBA.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid LaKeena hanging out with you, talking basketball. Let's transition over to the college hardwood. We'll start out locally. The Fighting Illini, they are now 17-10 on the year, at being manhandled by the Wisconsin Badgers, who are ranked number 11 in the country. Wisconsin defeated Illinois this past Tuesday, 95-74. LaKeena, the Fighting Illini, they were in it in the first half. They trailed by 6 at recess, but it was a 48-33 run by the Wisconsin Badgers that really separated themselves from the Illini in that second half. LaKeena, talk about it. I talked about it for the last couple of weeks on the show. The Fighting Illini, they got to take care of the damn basketball. 13 assists, but 14 turnovers. That's not going to get it done. You only made 14 trips to the free throw line. That's inexcusable. And you shot 33% from 3. I guess statistically it's been better than the last 5 games, but still, this team, I know it's a young team, it's a talented team, but they've fallen in love with that damn 3-point shot too much. They are careless with the damn basketball, and when both those things happen, it's an ugly result for the men in orange.
Yeah, I know some people want to say, oh, a lot of their guys are out because of flu and such. I know the flu's kind of went through. I saw Deion Thomas, a former standout back in the early '90s. I thought his voice was a lot deeper than that, but he was interviewing our buddy Jared Payton for the GN Sports game night last night, and I think I think like Brett Underwood apparently told him that they would have asked him to come on. Well, he has 1 year of eligibility left, so why not?
Don't tell that to Bruce Pearl.
Yeah, exactly. I know Underwood didn't, and Greg Gard, they didn't shake hands afterwards because the flu and stuff has been going around over in the in the Illini team. But that's no excuse. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, especially since they have a very tough matchup coming up tomorrow. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, I mean, John Tonje from Wisconsin, 31 points. Probably one of the best guys in the big players in the Big Ten, if not in the country. He can shoot the ball from the inside and outside. He's their kind of like their facilitator for Wisconsin. I'm not gonna say Wisconsin could be a sleeper, perhaps to get into the Final Four, but they could definitely make the best of. I know Greg Gard has adjusted to some of the stuff, and not depend on the three too much, but even still, I mean, they're one of those teams that could definitely go very deep in March.
And they outscored Illinois in the paint on Tuesday, 48-28. So they could definitely kill you inside. LaKeena, I know we'll get to the rest of the Big Ten in just a moment. I know we have a few minutes left, but you say that the times are changing within the Big Ten. You cannot ignore Wisconsin right now. We talk about Michigan State. We talked about Michigan. But like you say, Wisconsin, you got to put them up there as one of the teams you have to fear when come Big Ten tournament time, which we'll see in about, I believe, 2.5 weeks. 3 weeks. So, like you said, people are not talking about Wisconsin enough. But after what they did to Illinois, you better start talking about them right now.
Michigan State, on Tuesday, Michigan State also got a big win against Purdue by 9. Jason Richardson had 12 points, and they kind of just soldier wrong here. They had their struggles early on, but they're doing their thing. Minnesota got a nice win. Nice win for Ben Johnson. No, not the Bears head coach. Minnesota is their head coach is named Ben Johnson. I know, I'm sure he's probably getting that a lot lately. They beat UCLA 64-61. Dawson Garcia had 21 points there. Florida, no trouble with Oklahoma. Houston, Mississippi State. Houston beat Arizona State. Mississippi State mile upset over Texas A&M. Iowa State beats Colorado. A nice win for Jamie Dixon and his crew down.
This from Tuesday, folks.
Yeah, and in TCU, Tracy Arian Wright had 16 points for them. Marquette, no trouble with Seton Hall. BYU, I'm starting to worry about Kansas now. Sid, BYU just hammered Kansas. Richie Saunders had 22 points, was a season high for him. For BYU, Connecticut beat Villanova. Again, this is for Tuesdays, folks. And LSU beat South Carolina in a mile upset. Going into Wednesday's match, I know Wednesday was pretty insane. Auburn, Sid, this will make Sid happy. Auburn held off Arkansas. Mizzou, our buddy Mike Berman from NBC Chicago. We gotta get him back on. I know he's happy. He was happy about this on Wednesday as his Mizzou Tigers beat Alabama. Mark Mitchell had 31 points, a season high for him. And Dennis Gates, to his credit, told the folks there in Columbia, don't storm the court because look, we need that money for NIA. So he's actually right though. So welcome to college sports in 2025, folks. St. John's with a big second half. Davion Smith had 18 points as they blew out DePaul. So looks like St. John's, they're trying to try to wrap up that regular season Big East title.
Yeah, and I heard some pundits say early this week that St. John's is overrated. But as I said, I give Rick Pitino all the respect and credit in the world. He's really turned that program around. They were this close of getting back to NCAA tournament last year, making a late run. But this year, they look dominant in that Big East. It's still not going to be easy, but he has those guys playing very well right now. And wherever he said in that locker room at Wintrust on Wednesday, that was a totally different team that came out in that second half. Give your Blue Demons credit, LaKeena. They tried their best in that first half, but wherever Rick Pitino said in that second half, whether his team was sleepwalking or what, they came out a much different team in the second half. The team that we expected St. John's to play, they did their thing in that second half and walked out of there with a dominating win.
Yeah, they looked really good. I know. But look, Big East is one of the toughest conferences in the country. So anybody that says, "Oh, they're overrated," well, okay. Look, I know the Big East is not the Big East from like 5 years ago, but it's still the Big East. So I think people need to kind of just. And I'm sure Coach Pete is going to try to feed off that. Nebraska loses to Penn State, so that's a bad loss for them. As I try to get into the bubble here. North Carolina with a nice statement win against North Carolina State. SMU no trouble with Notre Dame. Murray State beats Southern Illinois. These are Wednesday's games, folks. By the by. UNI beat Belmont. Bradley loses to Illinois State, so they're still like a half game up, but they want to try to get that bye, because remember in about like a week from now, the Missouri Valley Conference tournament starts, so they're gonna need a win there. We'll talk about their schedule in a second. Oregon edged out Iowa, so they really needed that win. Boise State beats New Mexico. Rutgers beat Washington in overtime, keeping their bubble hopes alive. And for Thursday, Maryland beat yesterday. These are yesterday's games, folks. Maryland beat USC. Northwestern got a nice win against Ohio State. A bad loss for Ohio State as they were trying to get in the bubble. Now Northwestern, they gotta keep wanting to get out of that bottom three in the Big Ten, because for those of you who are wondering, you're finishing the bottom three of the Big Ten, you can't participate in the tournament. So nice win for Northwestern, but they're still like a half game back of Iowa though for that danger spot, if you will.
Yeah, going back to Wednesday's game, you talked about bad loss for Bradley against Illinois State. Drake beat UIC handily. We talked about Drake on our last program on Monday. They lost to Bradley at home on last Sunday. Much needed win for the Drake Bulldogs, blowing out UIC. So, like you said, Bradley has to win the rest of their games to have their regular season title.
Yep. Let's see here. Santa Clara beats Loyola Marymount. Oregon State, they beat Pepperdine, and San Francisco beat Pacific. These are the West Coast Conference games here, folks. They could consider like 3 or 4 teams, which would be the most they've ever had. So we'll see what happens. Now, this weekend, tonight you got Marquette and Villanova at 6 o'clock on FS1. ESPN2 will have Loyola as they host Dayton. An A10 action here. Michigan State, that should be a good one on the Big Fox Network at 7 o'clock. That should be a fun one there. Michigan State can wrap up the regular season Big Ten title with a win there. Miami of Ohio, they host Kent State at CBS Sports Network at 7. And you got Milwaukee and Youngstown State wrapping it up there in the Horizon League at ESPN-U. And our buddy Jordan Borfo had the call of that game.
All right. Tomorrow, Saturday, it looks like this. In prime time on the Fox at 7 o'clock Chicago time, we'll have the Duke Blue Devils traveling to Champaign to take on the Fighting Illini. Cooper Flagg will make his only appearance in the state of Illinois. So if you guys lucky enough to have tickets, please go down there and support the Illini and get to see Cooper Flagg. No, he will not be in the Bulls uniform next year, folks. For those of you wondering, I want Cooper Cup in the Bulls uniform. It's not happening, so stop. Moving on. At 11 a.m. on Fox, we'll have Oregon.
Wait. Well, actually, that game's actually going to be on at MSG, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and it's saying on my app here, so damn it, but damn you, ESPN. But whatever. Still go out. For those of you that have tickets at MSG, go support. So anyway, Cooper Flagg will not be in the Bulls uniform. Just saying. But back to our scheduling. Oregon will travel to the East Coast, to the Midwest, to take on number 11 Wisconsin. You can see that game at 11 a.m. on Fox. I'll be watching that one. At the same time, on the CW Network, Channel 9 here in Chicago, Louisville will host Florida State. Cincinnati will host TCU on ESPN2 at the same time. Also, Mississippi State will face Oklahoma. Big game for Oklahoma. That's at high noon tomorrow on the SEC Network. Now, this will be a good one here at 1 o'clock on ESPN. Number 8, Iowa State will travel to Texas to face number 5, the Houston Cougars. That should be a fun one.
That should be a lot of fun. The first game was actually pretty good as well. Houston was able to pull it out, so I'm sure Iowa State will want their revenge. But you forgot one game at 11 a.m. It'll be Tennessee and Texas A&M. Texas A&M coming off a loss, so I'm sure Buzz Wills and his guys will have his guys ready and ready to go. Penn State in Minnesota and the Big Ten Network. The CW Network, the continue that don't have a WGN9. Those who scored at home will have Pittsburgh and Notre Dame. Let's see here. The big game, 3 o'clock, you got Auburn hosting Georgia on ESPN. You got Clemson at SMU on ACC Network. Oklahoma State and number 23 Kansas on CBS. Kansas really need that win to stop with the free falling. George Mason, VCU on CBS Sports Network. Washington and Iowa. That's a big game to get out of the bottom, stay away from the bottom of the Big Ten. That'll be on FS1 there. Florida, LSU on the SEC Network at 5. Kentucky and Alabama at 5 o'clock on ESPN. That should be a fun one down there in Tuscaloosa. I know Alabama's going to want to not going to be in a good mood after losing to Missouri. So we'll see what their mood is. Boise State and Nevada on FS1 at 5. Santa Clara and Washington State on CBS Sports Network. Missouri and Arkansas at 7 o'clock on ESPN. San Jose, Utah State on CBS Sports Network. And DePaul hosts Butler at 7 o'clock on FS1.
And going back to Bradley College locally here in Chicago, state of Illinois, Bradley will host Murray State. That's at 5 p.m. tomorrow on ESPN and ESPN+. So as we mentioned a few moments ago, Bradley has to keep pace with Drake to have that regular season title in the Missouri Valley Conference.
St. Mary's and Gonzaga in an early matchup at 7 o'clock on ESPN2 over in Spokane. Texas, South Carolina, SEC Network at 7:30. BYU coming off that big win against Kansas. We'll see how they do against Arizona at 9 o'clock on ESPN. Colorado State and UNLV on CBS Sports Network. And Cal and Stanford, no matter what conference they're in, I'm glad they're keeping that Bay Area matchup going. That's the late game on ESPN2 at 9.
Yeah, a couple of key games for Sunday. UConn will face number 10 St. John's. That's at 11 a.m. on Fox. At 1 p.m. on ESPN2, Florida Atlantic University and number 22 Memphis. Penny Hardaway's Memphis Tigers have been struggling lately, and that's a rivalry in the AAC. They'll get it on at 1 p.m. on Sunday on ESPN2, and at 12:30 on CBS on Sunday, number 13 Purdue will travel to Hoosier Stadium to face the Indiana Hoosiers. Purdue, they need a big win in a big way.
We'll see what mood they're in after losing to Michigan State a couple of days ago. Ohio State, we'll see how they are after losing Northwestern pretty badly. They'll face UCLA on CBS at 2:45. Drake in Northern Iowa could be for control of the Missouri Valley Conference. That's going to be at 3 o'clock on ESPN2. Georgetown and Creighton on Peacock at 3 o'clock. Also, USC and Rutgers. That's going to be on FS1. Could be a bubble game coming up. So we'll see. And that's your schedule for this weekend in college hoops.
Stay tuned for more sports and more fun as Second City Sports # Friday Fun continues with the return of our homegirl, Miss Christine the Queen Manica. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
No, I don't know though. I'm scared. I mean, you're
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Move it!
earn the title United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2, the hashtag Friday Funk edition of Second City Sports. You're live in live color and locked and loaded right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with us with Miss LaKeena McGee, which is she. I am Sidney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Keena McGee on the Twitter, X, excuse me, and the IG.
As we dive into some NFL free agency and a little baseball talk here and there, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments.
All right, Sid. Cubs beat the Dodgers 12-4 in spring training yesterday, and like I said, we got some squad matchups coming up. Of course, the Dodgers and the Cubs will play each other again later today. They're actually about to start in a little bit, so we'll see what what happens there. Now the Cubs and the White Sox will play each other on tomorrow down there in Arizona. So we'll be addressing we could see here, but going back to the MLB here, kind of like the main thing here is that there's a lot of questions surrounding the Sox and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see what both teams bring to the table. The Cubs looked really good yesterday. Again, I know it's spring training, but even still, I mean, they look good, and you'll take it if you're a Cubs fan and such. We'll see how they do the rest of the weekend, but I want to see how the White Sox are, because Mike Clevenger has been brought back by the White Sox on a minor league deal, much to, I'm sure, to a few other Sox fans' chagrin. So yeah, so Sid, I'm sure you probably saw a little bit of that the Cubs Dodgers highlights yesterday for down there in Arizona.
Yeah, it's spring training and the Cubs did well. It was mostly backups in there. Speaking of the White Sox, former White Sox player Nicky Lopez from last year got a hit in that game as well yesterday. But I want to ask you about, we kind of predicted this on this show last week, Justin Turner, as we heard that the injury to third base prospect Shaw, the Cubs did the right thing and signed Justin Turner to a 1-year, $6 million deal. What is your thoughts on this one? I told you the Cubs needed to sign him. And guess what? Chet Hoyer woke up and did the right thing.
$6 million is not bad. Like I said, I mean, it's going to be a potential low risk, high reward. I mean, he's very versatile. He can play both infield and outfield. He has a World Series ring, so the guy knows how to win. He brings that playoff experience and such. And I know he's been wanting to play with the Cubs for the last few years. So sorry, is finding a line with that. So yeah, he can definitely eat up stuff and gets a lot of depth in that infield. So yeah, I like this signing. Look, this will definitely soften the blow, if you will, from the break, not being able to sign Alex Bregman. But again, I think Turner's a really solid guy that, like I said, is a good guy in the clubhouse, good leader, and I think that's what they need down there in that locker room with the Cubs.
Like you say, he has played third base before, and as I said before, he'll probably be a backup DH next to Seiya Suzuki, or if Kyle Tucker needs a day off, he's not an outfielder, but if Seiya Suzuki struggles or just needs a day off, Justin Turner can fill in that spot at designated hitter. So this is like you said, a good move, low risk, high reward. And as we said, the Cubs need a third base. I think Justin Turner will do that for 1 year. And now Jed Hoyer, it'll probably, unfortunately, barring any major injuries, looks like this move will probably happen at the trade deadline. This team still needs another solid starting pitcher.
It'll be interesting to see if they can get that. So yeah, because they definitely really need one now. A couple of other news. Well, Brett Batty, who is the who's the infielder for the Mets, got a nice present. He got a new Chevy for Juan Soto after he gave up his number to Soto. And the crazy thing is, I think Batty said that he's been has had the same car since high school, and he's been wanting to upgrade, but he hasn't been able to do that, so now he doesn't have to. So that was a nice moment over spring training down there in Florida yesterday.
Thank you. I got a new ride. You can have my number. You can have a couple other things. I'm happy with my new car. Thank you, Juan Soto. If that doesn't promote team unity, I don't know what does.
Whatever helps there. And also to the Yankees, Hank Steinbrenner made the announcement early this morning that they're doing away with the rule of beards or any kind of facial hair. And as long as they're well trimmed and well coiffed, you can keep facial. Of course, that's been a rule since the 70s. I talked about the Yankees going all the way back to Hal's father, George. And I think it started, the first time Billy Martin was the manager there. It might have been the second time. I don't know. But yeah.
About the fifth time.
Third or the fourth time, I think. But yeah. Something like that. But yeah, I mean, I guess that they find it's about time. I guess they got rid of that rule because it was just kind of silly. And supposedly, allegedly, that's why Soto didn't go with it, didn't stay with the Yankees because of that. But if you saw the video with him and when he gave Batty that car, he had a little bit of a mustache there. So I wonder if that's the case. But again, I think this is a nice sort of out of date rule that I'm glad they finally got rid of.
Yeah, Richard, that rule was put in not to be a distraction to your team. It's all about the team. Is no one individual is bigger than the brand, almost like what the NFL is now overall. But it's a nice change. But here's the thing I really wonder. I'm not going to really see Aaron Judge or Giancarlo Stanton grow a big fat beard. I kind of want to see that. I know we won't, but it would have been interesting. It definitely would have been interesting.
Yeah, that actually would be funny. I would love to actually see Stanton with a beard, though. That would be kind of see there, getting rid of the Santa Claus. Well, speaking of the Yankees, keep up with the theme. They extended Aaron Boone's contract through 2027. So I guess any question if he, if he was on the hot seat, especially after they made it to the World Series last season, I think this will put the question to the side, at least for right now.
Yeah, he was last year on the hot seat. You mentioned they didn't make it to the show last year before running out against the Dodgers. He's safe for this year and perhaps maybe next year too. So we'll see where the Yankees will they end up at the end of this season. They have competition in the AL East. Boston has bolstered their roster. Baltimore is going to be there. Toronto, we know they're going to be rebuilding. They may have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. up for trade to the Yankees. We'll see about that coming up on July 31st. And, of course, let's not forget about Detroit and Cleveland and a trash AL Central. But out there in the West, Houston's still going to be strong. So the Yankees, they're set up in a good position. It's not going to be as easy as it was a year ago, but now with Soto not being there. But the Yankees still should have a good enough club to at least make the playoffs. They may win the division, but they should have a good enough club just to make the playoffs. I know they boost up their star rotation, getting Max Free from Atlanta. So they still, even without Juan Soto, they have Cody Bellinger too. They should still have a good enough ball club to return to the playoffs.
Yes, they do. So yeah, I don't know if the AL East might not be out of the question though either. I wouldn't say that, but I think Baltimore may have something to say about that. I mean, look, we'll see what Boston does, especially now that they got Alex Bregman. So we'll see. But yeah, it should be interesting down there in the AL East because, like I said, I don't think the Yankees are going to run away with it. They did last. Well, they didn't. But I know Baltimore was right there. But Baltimore could take a step back. We'll see. But yeah, it should be interesting in the AL East.
Yeah, going back to the White Sox, LaKeena, you brought it up with Mike Clevenger. This is a guy that we all know he had his problems off the field, and there was some questionable character transactions when he was a member of the Cleveland Guardians back in the day. But he's been injured ever since he's put on the White Sox uniform for the last 2 or 3 years. Why are you re-signing him again The fan base doesn't like him for obvious reasons. I know when he was here 2 years ago, he started off hot and then he got injured, but he hasn't been the same since. No one wants him. Why are you picking him up? He brings no value. I know we are rebuilding, but he brings no value. No one wants him. Why are you picking him up? It's like picking up a person that brings no value to your team as far as you work your 9 to 5. You know what they're gonna do. They're very predictable. Why are you wasting your time with him? I maybe you see something I don't look in about. I don't understand it.
Yeah, it is interesting when I saw that news late last night that the minor league contract. So he does include an advice. So he's probably, I think he is at spring training right now as we speak down there in Arizona. But it's sort of weird that that he wasn't very good last year, and he, like he said, he got hurt. He had to stay out the rest of the year. So it is a little bit weird that they did bring him back. I know it's a team friendly deal. It's only a minor league deal, but with all all the stuff aside off the field, I'm leaving that to the side. But it just seems like kind of silly that they would even bring him back. I guess a veteran, maybe, I don't know, but who knows? But it is a little bit weird that they brought him back. It is very odd.
We all dealt with this, LaKeena, throughout our lives. I have, you have, but you always have that guess, whether it's your friends or your friends of your family. There's always that one person that causes trouble. They overstay their welcome. This is what Mike Clevenger is. He's that guy. You're causing trouble. No one likes you. Get out. Get out and stay out. Don't come back. Leave.
Yeah, you're right. So it's a little bit weird that it's just very odd and definitely a head scratcher of a signing, no doubt about it. Any other MLB news that caught your eye over the week?
No, I'm good. I'm ready to dive into this NFL talk.
All right, listen, Second City Sports on Sports from Chicago, LaKeena McGee. Sidney Brown with you as we switch gears here, into some NFL news. Probably, we'll start with this news first. One of the top offensive tackles in the last, maybe you could say 10 or 15 years, has decided to call it a career. Zach Martin, the former All-Pro guard for Dallas, he announced his retirement yesterday. 34 years old. I know that he told Jerry Jones his decision. 9-time Pro Bowl selection in those 11 years. Which is like up there with Bob Lilly, Larry Allen, and Mel Renfro, and with Jason Witten too. He'll be eligible for the Hall of Fame next year. We're talking about Witten. Have been named him more. He also is a first-team All-Pro pick 7 times, which is tied for the most in team history with Randy White and with Lilly. It's sort of like it's up there. It's actually his 7th first-team All-Pro is right up there with Hall of Famers John Hanna and Randall McDaniel. So among guards. So you got to think he's definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer because he's definitely is one of the top offensive players in I think the last 15 to 20 years.
Yeah, like you say, he had a great career, a potential Hall of Fame career. So congratulations to him on that. Now, new head coach Brian Schottenheimer has some work to do to try to rework that offensive line, as Dak Prescott is going to return next year. So Dak Prescott is going to have some new teammates who's going to start up front. I'll give Jerry Jones credit for this. Over the last decade and a half, when all healthy, the Dallas Cowboys have one of the best offensive lines in football. I know Dak's been hurt 2 out of the last 5 years, and that was a part of it, as that line was starting to wear down because of age and injuries. But I'll give Jerry Jones credit for that the Dallas, when healthy, those were the best offensive lines in the NFL. Zach Martin was definitely a part of that.
Big part. So we'll see what he does. As he gonna be interesting to see if like I said, will he be a first ballot Hall of Famer in a few years? Because like I said, the numbers. But it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Let's see, where do you want to go to first? The Saints, Kellen Moore, speaking of former Cowboy OC, of course Eagles OC, one of the reasons why they won the Super Bowl a couple of weeks ago. They're hiring Brendan Staley, former Chargers head coach, to run the defense. So an interesting pickup there for the Saints and for Kellen Moore, one of the first big hires of his new staff. Let's see here. Clinton Portis, former running back, he joins the coaching staff over at Delaware State. So, of course, Deshaun Jackson is the new head coach there. So that should be interesting.
Speaking of Brandon Staley, at least you won't be involved on the offensive side of the ball, and you don't have to worry about him making a stupid decision of going on 4th down on your own 20-yard line.
Funny.
That'll be somebody else's problem.
Yeah, thank goodness. So yeah, it was a yeah. So it's like I said, it could be interesting. Sort of interesting thing here. So all right, so we got a couple of weeks before before the new league year starts, and I know Sid, we talked about it a little bit, but again we'll be more in depth here until our girl Christine Mack for KXRB joins us. The NFL free agent market is going to I mentioned some of the names earlier. I know there was a list of names for potential NFL free agents, especially for that Bears could pick up. So tell us about that list.
This comes courtesy of CBSSports.com's Pete Prisco. He's the top star NFL writer there, and he released a list of his top 100 NFL free agents. We won't go through all of them, but I want to make this tie to the Bears here at home here in Chicago. Number 3 on his list is Josh Sweat, the outside linebacker for the Philadelphia Eagles. I know he's going to come with a heavy price tag, but if you GM Ryan Poles, is he worth it for your team? You start with new head coach Ben Johnson. We all know that the Bears do need an edge rusher. If they don't pick it up in the draft, they should look to it for a skirt through the free agency realm. So, of course, number 4 on his list is Trey Smith. You mentioned the offensive guard for the Kansas City Chiefs. At number 5, this could be an interesting name, Ronnie Staley, the offensive tackle for the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, I saw that name. I know that he's probably one of the top. Been to a couple of All Pros himself, so yeah, he could be a name that perhaps. Again, that depends on if he decides he doesn't want to stay with Baltimore. I know he loves working with Lamar Jackson, and it's gonna be interesting to see the money part of it. That's gonna be interesting too. Could be interesting a name for the Bears to look out for as well. So that could be a name that the Bears fans could look up to. I know Trey Smith. I know some Bears fans because his girlfriend apparently is from here in Chicago. But you guys are forgetting they met at Tennessee. He played at Tennessee. He grew up just outside Memphis. So he might go to the Titans. So y'all don't know that he might not go there. So that's gonna be interesting too. I know Stephon Diggs, who's coming off an injury. His price tag, he might not be able to ask for a lot. Cam Robinson is another name, an offensive tackle. For the Vikings, that might be another name that Bears fans might look up for. I know Kevin Zeitler, who of course Ben Johnson worked with in Detroit. Some people would say that could be a name too for the Bears to look at. So yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of names to choose from. And I know some people will say that, well, the Bears got a lot of money. Well, they just upped the salary cap. So a lot of teams that if they didn't have the money now will have some money to spend on some of these guys. So it's not just going to be just the Bears. So people gotta put their ducks in a row here.
Yep. Continue with Pete Prisco's top 100 NFL free agents list. Number 7, this could be an interesting name here. Drew Dahlman, the offensive center for the Atlanta Falcons. He was only limited to 9 games last year because of ankle injury, but he's at the top center on the market. I mean, he'll definitely be an upgrade that position you do not have to worry about in the draft.
Boy, that contract for Kirk Cousins really is messing up Atlanta. But the good news is that they may have to release him, so maybe that money probably won't make a difference. It won't be a big hit to the salary cap. So I know that he likes to work with Michael Penix Jr. So that might be another thing that might give them the stay in Atlanta, especially if they do release Kirk Cousins and eat some of that money. But yeah, I mean that could be another name that the Bears could look at. So we'll see. Could be, like I said, could be interesting there as well.
Number 14, Nick Bolton, outside linebacker from the Kansas City Chiefs. He's at age
Nick Bolton's
25.
name has been around for a long time. He played for the 49ers. He played for the Chargers. It could be a defensive guy that perhaps maybe the Bears could probably get. And like I said, it's going to be about money. He's probably going to want some money. So will Ryan Poles be willing to give him the money that he needs? I mean, I know, like I said, they may. Yeah, I know everyone says the Bears will have a lot of money, but let's remember too, they may not. Poles might not want to spend all that money. So I think people need to kind of just, fountain it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Adam Schefter just posted.
All right, number 21. Go ahead.
Well, no, Adam Schefter just posted that tight end. Not a big surprise among the Bears. They told Joe Everett that they plan to release him. They'll free up $5.5 million in cap space. So not really a big surprise. So just some breaking news here involving the Bears here on Second City Sports. They're releasing Joe Everett. Not a big surprise, so I don't think anybody is shocked by this news.
No, not surprised at all. That tight ends room was very crowded, and like I say, if you don't have any availability to play, you don't bring any value, you shouldn't be on the team. So, like you said, this is not a surprising move here. Going back to the list, number 21, Khalil Mack of the Los Angeles Chargers. He was with the Bears from 2018 through 2021, and he turns 33 this offseason. He had 6 sacks last year, but you don't have to pay him big money. But is it really worth it for Ryan Poles to bring him back to the Bears? I say no, only because even though this team needs to get back on track as far as being a contender to go to the playoffs, I don't know how much does Khalil Mack have. I think Khalil Mack needs to go to a team like Kansas City or Philadelphia, where you don't have to pay him to be an every down pass rusher.
He's probably going to want to go to a place where he'll have a chance at a ring. So I heard some people say he might, if they can move some money around, might go back to the Chargers too. So he's going to want to go someplace where he's going to want to have a chance to win a ring. And unfortunately, the Bears aren't there yet. So, that might be somewhere to, that's going to be interesting too. Same thing with Khalil Mack. I know some Bears fans say, hey, why don't we bring him back alongside Montez Sweat? You want to take a chance on that? He's going to want to go someplace where he'll have a chance at a ring. So I just don't see that happening either. All right.
Trey Greenlaw is next. Trey Greenlaw is next on the list here for the San Francisco 49ers at number 31. He turns 28 this year. Of course, he only played in a couple of games last year because he tore his ACL from the year before in the Super Bowl and then lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. Do you think Trey Greenlaw is a realistic possibility for the Chicago Bears?
Yeah, it's all going to depend on money. I think all these moves are going to depend on how much money that Poles is going to want to give these guys. I mean, look, a lot of teams are going to have, like I said, you got Washington, they could probably use him there. The Ravens could use him back there as well. So, like I said, I know everyone wants to say that the Bears will have the inside track with some of these guys, and they might, but again, some teams actually have more cap or more flexibility. So, I think, look, do you want to take a chance on him? Just a freak injury that they changed the Super Bowl, a couple of years ago, to tearing his Achilles. Mm-hmm. But I think it could be a name, I think.
Okay, and we'll have part 2 to this on our show on Monday. All right, LaKeena, let's gear up for the last break of the show. We'll have the return of our girl, Miss Christine the Queen Manica from KXRB. We have the NBA All-Star Game to discuss or not discuss. We'll have also to the Bears raises season ticket prices. We'll get our thoughts on that and the return of baseball and a whole lot more. You stick and stay with us on the hashtag Friday Funk edition of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded. I'm Sid. That's LaKeena right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks? They can be a real lifesaver.
And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on the hashtag Friday Funk edition of the program. You're locked and loaded and live in the 11 color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's LaKeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Keena McGee on the Twitter, X, and again, IG.
This is our last break of the show for today and for the week. So if you have any last minute questions or comments for us, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
Now, that's not the way saying more time said. She's our weekend girl for KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. She's the one, the only, the fabulous Miss Christine, the Queen of Monica. What's up, Christine?
Yay!
Hello, how's it going?
It's getting
We're
warmer
doing
here
good.
in
How are
Chicago.
you?
It's getting warmer. Yes, it's getting warmer here too.
Oh, good. Now we haven't had you back in a couple weeks, so take like a quick synopsis of Super Bowl 59. I should say, between the Eagles. Of course, they just hammered the Chiefs, and so what do you think about the game? I know we all picked the Eagles, so what do you think about the game as a whole?
You know what? I didn't think the Eagles would dominate as they did. I thought it was going to be a little bit more in the fight, but the Chiefs were not in it at all, and it just kind of, I think, summed up all the flaws that they had during the season, and it solidifies my opinion that a lot of the games that they did win, majority of their games, was all luck. And the Eagles, they worked hard for it. They deserve to be in that position again, and their hard work paid off.
Sid?
we talked about LaKeena the day after the game that the Kansas City Chiefs had problems on the offensive line and really got exposed in that game. Josh Sweat had 2.5 sacks. Williams had a couple of sacks in there as well, but it was Jalen Hurts that walked away with the MVP. Christine, did you have a problem with it, or you thought someone else from the Philadelphia defense should have been MVP?
Honestly, I thought it should have been Cooper DeJean. He, for a rookie, absolutely just balled out. And from a local perspective, he was born here in Sioux Falls, grew up in Iowa majority of his life, but he still has family ties here in South Dakota. And it was awesome to see that. I said if they don't give it to Jalen Hurts, they should give it to Cooper DeJean. He had two amazing plays that really did change the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I say a lot of those guys on that defense, Josh Sweat,
Hmm.
yeah, Miguel Williams. I mean, a lot of those guys, Zach Baum had a big reception as well. So yeah, you probably could have made a case for all those guys on that
Yeah.
Eagles defense. So what about the chance you think about it? Let's tie it into the Bears. I know some Bears fans that say, how about like a Josh Sweat or somebody like that to come in? Of course, those guys are free agents. So what do you think about the Bears, some of their free agency? I know we talked about it like a couple of minutes ago before you came on. Like getting guys like a Josh Sweat, with Montez Sweat, no relation, but getting some of those guys, Zach Baum. What do you think about some of those guys as free agents for the Bears?
When it comes to specifically talking about the Eagles, I think they're going to follow the beat to everyone sing drum after they win the Super Bowl and try to keep a majority of those guys together on the team, especially since they are the Super Bowl champions. I can see them working on different negotiations in order to keep everybody on the team as a knit unit. The Bears are going to be interesting. They have a whole new team coming in for coaches, and when when I look at the defensive coordinators, the offensive coordinator, and then to see Eric Bieniemy make his return back to the NFL, being with the Bears, they have a solid, young, experienced coaching staff on them. Young in the terms of they're not they don't have any or too many gray hairs on them is what I mean by that, but they have enough experience in order to pass along to these guys, and they have that winning mentality. The offensive coordinator, for example, 28 years old, not that much younger than I am. So I think it's impressive, and it shows the confidence that the organization has, not just for these coaches, but it shows the confidence they have in Ben Johnson for making the decisions. I mean, Dennis Allen is an amazing get, in my opinion. I thought he was pretty solid and for the Saints when it was a crunch time, but I think he's going to be a great defensive coordinator for the Bears. I think he's going to be a strong asset too for the defense to come back strong.
Yeah, you mentioned with the experience that Ben Johnson has in his coach. You said with him being the first time head coach, you need all the experience that you can get, no matter what age it is. And looking at some of those position coaches like Antoine Randall L, he's not too far removed from the game. He can communicate the message that Ben Johnson is trying to send to those guys out. So I think that's going to be important. Don't forget about former defensive back Al Harris. He's a defensive backs coach and the passing game coordinator. He played with Green Bay some years ago, not that long ago. So those guys that are still connected to the game, they're not that far removed. So the players will be able to relate the message to those guys. Sticking with the Bears, Christine, I'm sure you saw this on Wednesday. President and CEO Kevin Warren announced that if you're a Bears season ticket holder, get ready to pony up, as the kids would say. A 10% increase in Bears season tickets. And as I said, kicking off the show, Bears, as far as in terms of being a sports fan in this town in Chicago, Bears season tickets are the head of the list, followed by the Cubs, the Bulls, White Sox, and Blackhawks will be fighting for last place. But it is a status symbol if you're a Chicago sports fan. What do you think about all this? And second part to my question, what is the most expensive ticket that you ever had to pay for, and did you get your money's worth out of it?
The second one's a good question. I had to think about that one for a little bit. But when it comes to the Bears, raising the ticket prices, I think that's just the supply and demand. They know that they're going to be one of the top teams next season to be looked at, especially with Caleb Williams actually having a coaching staff to back him up, to see the talent on the line for offense, especially. They know the product that they're selling. So I think for a business decision, it's smart on them, because knowing the season ticket holders, they're going to be the ones to spend the most money. So it only makes sense for the season ticket prices to be raised. As harsh as that sounds, they're just seeing the demand, and they're going to raise their supply as much as they can and target that specific demographic for the games. The most expensive, that's a tough question for me, because in all my life, when I've gone to, whether it's a sporting event or a concert experience, I've been very fortunate enough to have the experiences that I've had when it comes to both of those aspects. Um, Whether it's through my office where I go to shows, whether I got them as gifts. For example, the Sphere at U2, I got that as a gift. I didn't have to pay for it, and I'm so grateful for that. For me personally, I think I would have to go back and look to see the ticket prices, because when we went to the game last summer in June for the White Sox, I think I only paid like 45, $50 a ticket. Now, granted, they're not great, but I don't physically remember me ever having to pay a certain amount of money, a high amount of money for a ticket. So I'm lucky in that regard, is what I'm saying. So I'm probably not the best person to ask about it, but it's a good question to put into perspective as to how much money you're willing to spend. And there's only a couple things in life where I'd be willing to spend that money on. And it just depends on what kind of a sporting event it is. If it's a World Series, if it's like a playoff game, then yeah, I would put my money where my mouth is and see if I can swing it. But again, in general, I've been very blessed and very fortunate to have a lot of those experiences that what I've had.
Well, that's always good. I mean, there's no shame.
Yeah.
So it's great that you can be in a situation where you don't have to worry about having to buy like top prices for tickets. So yeah. And it seems like the hope is that they do well enough, the Bears do, so that they can justify the increase. But like you said, it could be interesting to see what happens there. Actually, the Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago, LaKeena McGee, Sidney Brown, KXRB's Christy Medica joining us for her Friday visit with us. Now let's talk some White Sox for a second. Mike Clevenger got the if you saw Sid's rant earlier about, well, not rant per se, like a mini rant, I guess, for bringing him back. Now, coming from this perspective, now, what do you think about the signing? And it just like, what do you think about that whole thing? When you saw that news.
Yeah, this is my first time hearing about that. I know it stirred up a lot of controversy given his personal track record. It's an interesting move. They've been making a lot of questionable decisions, I feel like. For example, with Gavin Sheets, all of a sudden letting him go into free agency and completely sign somewhere else. That was pretty much shocking to me when I saw that, just because I'm like, oh my gosh, he's one of the best hitters for the White Sox in quite some time. And they're just chopping everybody at the knees, especially the fans, when it comes to getting rid of some decent players. And again, all you hear about is these gosh darn prospects. Until I see some results from the team, I don't know if I can be excited about the prospects that they have in the farm system right now, just because of the questionable decisions that they've made when it comes to their veteran players. It's disappointing, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, also too, we talk about Luis Robert Jr. saying that he wants to stay in Chicago. We'll see about that. He has a team option for, I believe, after this season. Of course, he hired super agent Scott Boras. He wants to get paid. We'll see what happens about that. If you know the history, super agent Scott Boras and the White Sox organization haven't seen eye to eye with the players he represented in the past. So we'll see what happens about that. And Chris Getz, looks like he's convinced Reinsdorf that this version of the rebuild is what's needed, obviously, and we're in the early stages of that. But as I said before, we'll do a deeper dive into it as we get into spring training in March. But I don't think that just looking at it here, I don't think the team is going to be as bad now. Am I promising a playoff trip for the White Sox? No, but I think you're going to get some complimentary players in there that have a high baseball IQ. Just play the game right, and I think the White Sox fans will eventually appreciate it. I don't think they're going to be as bad as they were obviously last year when they broke that record from having most losses in the season. But if you play hard, if you play smart, the fans will get behind that. And also, too, I'm interested to see what this starting rotation is going to look like eventually. You have Drew Thorpe, who's up now.
Yeah.
We saw some flash from him last year before he got hurt. You have Noah Schultz, who they selected in the draft last year. He'll be up at some point this year. And also to Jonathan Cannon. You saw some signs for him, but he'll continue to grow. So, and don't forget about your top shortstop prospect, Colson Montgomery, who should be able to make the team this year. So, from a team standpoint, I don't think they're going to lose 100 games. Losing 100 games is not going to benefit you anymore in terms of a top draft pick. That's not happening anymore. The rules have changed. But looking at some key individual players that the White Sox organization wants to build around, I think that's the key is going to be to this White Sox season. Looking at some individual players to see who's going to be around for this rebuild, hopefully when the team gets competitive in about 2 or 3 years.
Can't get any worse.
Yeah. Well,
exactly.
Well, yeah, that's the hope.
Worse.
That's the hope, right? You can't get any worse. So I guess you can only go up from here if you're a White Sox fan. So, yeah, so that's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Now, same with MLB, of course. We're just going to some sports media news. The news came out yesterday, late yesterday afternoon, and not really a big surprise, I guess, if you think about it. But the New York Times reported this. Shout out to Evan Drylick and of course, and also Andrew Marchand, that MLB and ESPN have decided to opt out of their TV deal. Of course, Rob Medford kind of called out ESPN because of minimal coverage. So, Christina, I'll start with you. What do you think? Were you surprised, or will it lead to like more streaming? I guess. So, what did you think about the news yesterday?
I think they're just trying to get the game into as many homes as possible without limiting everybody. And I think the fact of the matter is streaming is a big market. And I don't think you can go into a home where you don't find any sort of streaming device. So I think they're trying to make this as user friendly as possible, without anybody, having to extend their cable package or, do anything extra outside of what's already being done. So I'm not totally surprised by it, but I am curious to see what kind of a platform they'll use next and jump to.
Excuse me, sorry, folks. But as we talked about LaKeena before the start of the show, what killed ESPN was MLB Network when they debuted in 2010 here in the U.S. Remember, ESPN, along with Fox, who still has the over-the-air broadcasting rights now. ESPN used to be on 3 times a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and of course Sunday Night Baseball. Now they're reduced to 1 game a week, and just like what they did with the NHL. With the NHL, they used to before they had the whole lockout for the entire year in 2005. They used to be on highlighting on Sports Center every night, but when you limit the amount of games, you get minimum amount of coverage, and that's what the ESPN model has been over the last decade or so. So once MLB took over and started broadcasting games that ESPN did back in the day with those days of the week, that's what killed ESPN, reducing them to broadcasting games 1 day a week. Now, will they still be able to cover the game? Sure, but it's not going to be as intense as it once was when they had those games up multiple times a week like they did back in the 90s and early 2000s. So with ESPN's sports coverage now, especially on Sports Center, they're going to rely heavily, obviously, on the NFL because it's the number 1 sport in the U.S., followed by the NBA and, of course, the Olympics every 4 years, and so on and so on. Everything else will fall on the waistline after that.
Yeah, and we see you watch Get Up, they rarely talk about baseball. I mean, you got spring training going on. They don't have nobody there to talk about baseball. They're talking about who's going to go where free agency. They'll talk 4 days. It's probably the most they've talked about hockey in a long time. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, I think I'm not surprised by this. We'll be interested to see, like, will more stream services be involved? Will Amazon be involved? They already got games. Apple, will they be involved? They already got games as well. So you got the local markets, especially. And, well, also some good news since you're a White Sox season ticket holder, CHSN will be offered to season ticket holders for, like, the first month for, like, starting in the beginning of the season. So you'll be able to watch a little bit of the CHSN coverage of the White Sox. So, that'll be that's not bad. But yeah, the streaming thing, we'll get to the streaming thing as far as NFL is concerned in a second. But yeah, it's becoming a blessing and a curse for a lot of folks, I feel like.
Xfinity, CHSN, work out a deal now.
All right, keeping up with the streaming theme here, of course. The director of content over at Netflix kind of put it out there. It kind of let the cat out of the bag because I guess she was told that I guess she didn't know that the NFL actually has an opt-out clause with this new TV deal. This is going to be the third year of the new TV deal coming up this season. They opted out of it. NFL can after 2029. Now, of course, and Netflix wants to to play the rights for both one of the Sunday afternoon windows for both CBS and or Fox, and it's just like, okay, let me put you guys out there first. Sid, I'll start with you. What do you think about this whole thing about Netflix wanting to take over some NFL coverage?
Here's the thing. We talked about with the season ticket situation with the Bears earlier about capitalism. I'm all for it, but if Netflix has the cash to do it, they're going to do it. Traditionally, LaKeena, Kristen, you can relate to this as well at your young age. We've been lucky to see the games for quote unquote free on CBS and Fox doing Sunday afternoons for years, of course, at night. So for Sunday Night Football in this era on NBC. But if Netflix has the cash to do it, they have the right to do it. The NFL wants it done, and they will get it done. My issue is, and someone brought it up on one of the two sports radio stations in Chicago this week. I think we talked about it before. Should the NFL and Netflix marry to have these the Sunday early games? How far will it be off? Well, when we have the Super Bowl on streaming service / pay-per-view, I don't think it's going to be that far off if this deal happens. I know we still have 4 years until we potentially have to worry about that, but if this deal happens, I don't think it will be too long before Netflix or somebody else will come after the Super Bowl. We'll have to watch it exclusively on the streaming service or go somewhere else, which I will not name, to watch it. You don't have to go through Netflix, but I don't think it will be too far off that we can have a realistic possibility of having the Super Bowl on a pay-per-view / streaming service exclusively. I wouldn't like it, but that's the way this thing I think is headed.
What Sid said too, it pretty much speaks the numbers from Christmas Day on Netflix. It pretty much sums it all up right now, right there, how high those ratings were. I know what Peacock does when they do like Sunday night games. It's still streamed on NBC. So I wonder if this is going to be some sort of a partnership where the games will still be on, CBS and Fox in addition to the Netflix coverage. I don't know. I think I could see that being a scenario and not totally getting rid of the games on those stations, but just having that as another option for folks to watch the games with.
Yeah, I heard somebody. I know Mike Florio. He's about as connected, or maybe not connected, depending how you look at it. I guess like if you give it to Netflix, they can serve it out to CBS and Fox since they both their media companies have cable networks, so maybe spread out into cable networks, go that route. But like you said, Christine, I mean, look, you're still gonna be making money from I guess ads. I think $2.5 million Fox was paid for some of those ads. You're not gonna be able to do that on Netflix. So if you want to make money, and the NFL knows that they can make money, they're gonna have to keep it on a free network. I know this is 2025, but Netflix's price is going to be up like about $100, I think, by the time all this sort of shakes out. So you're expecting folks to, let's go to Netflix instead of going to go to a local Fox or CBS or NBC network. And if if ESPN and ABC, your local ABC station for the Monday Night Football, it's just like I don't. People need options. I know we've been saying this for like the last like 5 years of all this, and it kind of just feels like if they decide to go all in with Netflix, you're basically just you're getting rid of some of the traditionalism too. And look, some of these streaming services are losing money. So you got to think the prices are going to be astronomical, especially who knows what's going to happen these next 4 years. So folks are not going to want to pay a lot of money to watch Netflix. They're not. So NFL better think hard about this before one to opt out. You better take these next 7 or 8 years to try to figure out an alternative, because going all in with streaming is not going to be the way to go. If we're going to find out what happens with the NBA too once their new TV deal starts with Amazon. You're already having problems right now, so I think they're going to try to do the opposite, but we'll see.
Yeah, even though that Netflix had some internet issues with the Tyson and the Tyson fight and Jake Paul fight, it's still drawing big numbers. But like you said, hopefully those connections issues will be solved by the time if they get this option for this package in 2029. I know they still had the 2 Christmas Day games for next year, but hopefully those issues will be ironed out. But I don't want, we talked about this on the show before in previous episodes about many people having multiple streaming services just to watch their games, where you're talking about baseball, football, basketball, or hockey. LaKeena, you mentioned about Netflix. I know their prices rose up again. I wanted to ask you, since you are a subscriber to YouTube TV, have you already seen your increase in your bill?
Yeah,
and how much is it?
Yeah, it's like $10 more than it was, and because I remember when I first signed up, it was about 50. It was a good alternative, but now it's $72, and the weird thing is that you're not getting a lot of the channels. I mean, they had that whole thing with CBS and their networks. They were able to figure it out, but they don't have any of the RSNs. They don't have the Lifetime and A&E, those channels. So it is starting to feel like it may not be really worth the money. So, if you're going to have to, it's basically going to be cable a la carte with all this other stuff coming up with all these sports and, going on these streaming services so you can watch them. Yeah, Hulu Live TV, Sling. It's just like, it's kind of getting sort of crazy. And, it's just like, you're going for the days where everything was simple. Like, hey, here's your cable package. You want to do this, this, and this. If you got DirecTV, here's your satellite package or stream package.
Yep.
Go this, and this.
Yeah.
It's getting too much.
Christine?
Yeah, no, it's everything that I said before. I mean, I know personally, for my mom doesn't do any of that streaming stuff for whatever reason. So I don't think she has a problem paying a cable bill right now. And my dad's kind of the same way. He has streaming services to like an extent, but even he's cut back on the cable a little bit. So it's all about supply and demand. And right now Netflix is seeing the demand and they're going to supply it.
All right, you're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid, LaKeena, and Christine hanging out here with you. We have a few minutes left. Of course, the Four Nations tournament concluded last night in Boston, Massachusetts. In the hockey tournament, there was no all-star game for the NHL this year. The Canadian hockey team won over the U.S. last night, 3-2 in overtime, courtesy of Connor McDavid. The USA-Canada rivalry is still strong in terms of hockey. Christine, did you catch any of the highlights? If so, what did you think about it? And do you think they should, even though the Winter Olympics will be next year, and we'll see the NHL players participate in that, what did you think about this Four Nations tournament, if you saw any of the highlights for last night? Although it was great personally, especially last night's game.
I was only keeping up with the score a little bit just because I had basketball last night, but I like what the NHL did and totally got rid of the All-Star game and just made it a whole big, worldwide event. I think that's a good idea for a lot of teams going forward. Take the NBA, for example. I think that would be very smart on their part to draw interest just to get a whole worldly tournament going on instead of, the West versus the East. And it sparked a lot of patriotism, I think, for a lot of the Team USA fans, and same thing for Canada too. It was just a great moment to see it all come together, and it was a tough fight until the end, went into overtime. So it was a hard fight all around by both teams.
Yeah, I watched the entire tournament. It was amazing, and like I said, I mean, this is the most coverage ESPN has showed of hockey in a long time, from like all day coverage. So, that in itself, but yeah, 'cause you saw PK Subban everywhere. He was everywhere on the ESPN network. Of
Yeah.
course, Mark Messier joined in the fun as well, whether it's coverage started. But yeah, Connor McDavid, of course, it would be him that would score the game winner for Canada, and it's sort of like look, I want to see what the ratings are because I want to see, how many, because they like 4.1, 4.4 million, and about little like 6.5, little 6.6 million Canada saw the first matchup between Canada and the US. We'll see what the ratings are for last night's game. But yeah, you saw like a lot of names that like Nate McKinnon, Brad Marchand, Sidney Crosby, of course. Then on the US side, he had the Kachuk brothers and Jack Eichel and Jack Hughes and those guys. So I want to see how many of those folks going to be watching the NHL game tonight in a couple of days once they get back into the season, because I tomorrow, because I want to see what the ratings are, because a lot of these guys, once all that stuff with represent different countries, once that's over with, they're going to be going back to their teams. I want to see what the ratings are going to be tomorrow, because you got Minnesota and Detroit tomorrow on ABC, and I want to see what the ratings are going to be, because most of those folks who watch probably will not watch another hockey game the rest of the season. So I want to see that part of that. But yeah, it was great. Of course, Finland and Sweden did showed great heart as well. But yeah, it's always about the patriotism, so that helps with the hockey, especially, it seems.
As I say all the time, Olympic hockey, this wasn't Olympic hockey, but Olympic hockey, along with the tournament that just concluded last night, it's just like the closest to the Stanley Cup playoffs that you're going to get. Teams that are playing hard, that they have something to fight for, unite, and play for. So, and that's what makes hockey so great. It makes the Stanley Cup playoffs, in my opinion, the best postseason tournament in all of sports. But the problem that the game of hockey has faced for a while, as we talked about with MLB before too, that what these seasons being long, MLB 162 in the NHL being 82 games. These leagues are covered lightly during the regular season, but once you get to postseason, then everybody cares. But until the coverage changes around for both those sports, we're speaking in particular of hockey, until it goes into American sports fans' consciousness for the regular season, I think this is a problem you're still going to have, LaKeena. I don't think you're going to get the ratings as high tomorrow, because most of those fans that were watching, which was good for the moment, were casual fans. They'll check in once the Stanley Cup playoff starts. But as far as watching the rest of the regular season, unless you live in a city where your team is in the playoff hunt, you're not going to watch. And that's the same thing in baseball. If your team's in it, even though it's different because they're playing in the summer, bro, if your team is in it, you'll watch. If not, so be it. I'll check in during the playoffs to see if a big market team like the Dodgers or the Phillies are in it, and so on and so forth. And that's what the NHL has been facing for years. They're still facing it right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask like people who does Austin Matthews play for, most of those folks won't know who he plays for. Same thing with McKinnon and Marchand and Eichel. Yeah. So and I think you're right about that, unfortunately. And hockey has had some problems with the rate. I know NBA people get to talk about the NBA, and NHL ratings are even worse. So I don't know. I think either is it the way they're packaging or the way they're promoting or lack of promotions. That's another discussion for another day, I feel like.
Yeah, as I said, for a long time, the hockey has had a problem, still has a problem promoting their individual stars. You look at the names you just mentioned, LaKeena, and we could go back to when the Blackhawks were winning those Stanley Cups, those 3 Stanley Cups in the last decade. The NHL refuses to promote their stars outside the game of hockey and make your casual fans start to watch your games. It's been a big problem for a very long time. Same with Major League Baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else before we disperse, guys?
I think that's it.
Yep, I am done. I'm ready to stay warm and enjoy this weekend.
Yeah, the weather's supposed to be a little bit better this weekend, so yeah, we'll definitely be able to enjoy a little bit more. You can follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, execute again, IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sidney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Christine, where can lovely people follow you on social media?
They can follow me on X or Twitter at CManica_KXRB.
All right, you can catch Second City Sports anytime, anywhere on the Sports of Chicago app, and also on Sports of Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channel. Again, you can catch Second City Sports, Sean and Maya, the Smoke Fellows, What's Up Cuz, all the great programming on Sports of Chicago's app, and also Sports of Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channel.
And you know we will provide.
All right, of course, we want to thank our girl Christine Mack, as always, from KXRP, from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, as always, for joining us today. And just look, look, just be good to each other. I know it's going to be warmer in a lot of places around the country, so enjoy the weather, enjoy the sports. You got, hoops, both NBA and college hoops, both men and women. You're in the last few weeks of the season, so make sure you guys check that out as well. Of course, hockey, soccer, all the other good stuff, golf as well. So for Sid and Christine, I'm LaKeena. This has been Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. We'll see you guys next week.
See you Monday. Holla!